Also, when I was watching, there was this one YouTube that I was watching that really touched my heart. And there was a gentleman by the name of Orlando. And here is a Iraq veteran, combat veteran. And he was, could you give us a little bit, what happened to him? How he has a young wife, young daughters that are American?
Yeah, his wife is an American. He has kids that are American. He ended up getting deported. And from my understanding, don't quote me on this, but he got deported due to some technicality with his green card or his paperwork. So he did not even commit a crime. The only mistake was something happened with his paperwork. It did, and I don't know exactly what happened, but that's how come he got deported. Unless I misinterpreted him when I talked to him on the phone. But he's really, he's. Well, I've been emailing him for a couple of months, and he really hasn't responded to me. But now he's. I don't know if he's gonna come around or not, but he's pissed off. He's hurt, and you can't blame him, because he put his life on the line out there, and his kids would have never had a dad if he would have died in combat. And then for an ungrateful nation to deport him is, it's just. Well, I wouldn't even say nation, but the politicians and that know that it's happening right now. Some of them doing it, and they could do something about it and raise a fuss about it, but they're not doing it.
Well, we can't blame the American people because the American people that they're a lot of them aren't educated on. And what I'm hoping is that people will listen to this show on the internet when I archive it on my website, and it'll open up so many American people's eyes because when my wife and I were living down in the United States for almost 5 years, they were so proud about their military, and to hear that veterans are being deported from their country. As far as I'm concerned, when someone's a veteran, you're part of the brotherhood, you're part of the sisterhood, and it's up to all of us to defend the brotherhood and defend the sisterhood. And like you're saying, I believe 100%, just like you believe, never leave anyone behind because we have to protect each other in life. And what I want you to do is if you could quickly talk about, there's another gentleman who's facing deportation over to Jamaica. Could you share a little bit about that one?
Yes, his name is Rohan Coombs, and I've actually met his fiance. We used to actually go to try to meet with people to try to advise them of what or to let them know what's going on with our veterans. And he's also Persian Gulf War veteran. He's diagnosed with post-traumatic syndrome. He ended up picking up some drug charges, I believe, and we're not saying don't if you do something and you commit a crime, of course you should do the time, and certain things do need to be looked at, whether this guy's got a brain injury or something, or that might affect his thinking, or whatever, but if the veteran doesn't have any issues, or maybe he does have PTSD, of course, give him some time and rehabilitation, but don't deport the guy after, he served in your military. And before the military, this guy had never been in trouble. He got an honorable discharge, and after the military, he ended up, using drugs or doing different things. So,
well, his wife died 4 days.
Yeah, and his wife died 4 days before Christmas, or on Christmas, I'm not sure.
Yeah, and also, could you talk a little bit? There's one gentleman that's, I think he's in charge of the banished veterans. He's sitting over in England. He served for a little while over in the American military, and then he was deported back to Germany, and he eventually headed over to England, where he has 2 nonprofit organizations.
Okay, his name is Rudi Richardson. I've talked with him a little bit. He's also getting involved now. His father was actually a GI back in the days during World War II. His father was actually one of the GIs that was in that area, and I guess he got his mom pregnant, and she was I forget exactly what background she was, but this was in Germany, and they ended up putting him up for adoption or something like that, and then he never found out who his father was, I believe, and then somebody from that was stationed in Frankfurt or in Germany, a military family, an American family, adopted him. They took him to the States. He grew up there. He lived over there for over 45 years. He joined the military, was also an 82nd Airborne paratrooper, and then after getting in trouble with the law, he also got deported. But he's also a United States veteran, honorably discharged. And I got to look into his case because, from my understanding, they cannot deport you if your parents are U.S. citizens before the age of 18. So that's something I got to look into as well, because a lot of people don't know that, and that's something that might be able to help them out.
Well, you also have the Canadians that went down to the United States, went into the military down there, and after they're done their service, even the Canadians are getting deported back to Canada.
Yeah, everybody. The only two countries that do not. Well, I mean, there's depending on if you're, you could also seek political asylum if there's something going on with your family. But there's two countries that I do know for a fact that will not take you back, and that's Cuba and that's North Korea. So, what's that? Vietnam. And Vietnam. So there's a couple of countries that will not take you back. Other than that, I mean, you will be deported. There's people that served in the military from the British people that come over here and immigrated to the United States, and then they get deported. Russians, people from Africa, South America, and what's really wonderful about Rudy's stuff. What I did want to mention about Rudy's story is that he got deported to Germany, and after I think he's in close to his 50s, and he after 3 years of being deported to Germany, had never been there. He unless since he was a little kid. He from there he went over to Britain, and then he started a nonprofit organization, and that's a wonderful story of how somebody can reintegrate themselves back in society even after breaking the law. Because a lot of veterans that are citizens break the law, and they go back into society and deal with their issues and become productive citizens. And a lot of us can do that, but they're not giving us the opportunity to do that.
Yeah, there's a lot of what I've noticed even when I got honorably discharged from the Canadian military is it was kind of hard to adjust to society because it's a different atmosphere from going from the military over to society. It's not as it's more structured in the military, and then when you come out to society, it's so free and everything that it takes a little time to get used to it. What I wanted also, you live with a deported Marine too at the same time.
Yeah, actually, he's the one that mentioned just to me about also Vietnam. He's also deported. He was in the military for like almost 2 years. He was a Marine, and he was in detention for almost 2 years fighting this case. And he was in there with Mr. Coombs as well, and a couple other veterans. So there's, you got Marines. I haven't heard about too many Air Force guys. Actually, any Air Force, but Navy, Marines, Army. That's the main service that I've seen that has been getting deported, and the majority of the people that are getting deported are of course, to Mexico, because that's the country next to the United States. But you got people from all over the place: Jamaica, Liberia, Ghana, Africa, European countries, and I mean, you just name it, and they're getting deported to those countries.
And also, you were telling me before that you were talking about how important that the immigrant veterans have been throughout history in the United States. We're talking all the way back to the Revolutionary War. Could you share a little bit about that, what you were sharing with me at an earlier date?
Yeah, and well, basically, you've had people serve in the U.S. military since, I mean, if you go back to the Civil War, you had, people that were not U.S. citizens but fought alongside the United States from even when Texas, I believe, they decided to leave to become with the United States, to become a part of the and they annexed themselves or something like that, or even back to the Revolutionary War, where none of those people were U.S. citizens. They just had an ideal, and they wanted to separate themselves from England, and they wanted self-government and all that. So you had Indians also who were not U.S. citizens. So I mean, you can look throughout the history, and U.S. nationals, which is somebody that according to the immigration INA is somebody that holds allegiance to the United States, have served in the U.S. military throughout history, throughout the United States history.